All right, welcome to episode 2 of Reg Wars. Today I'm joined by Andrew Porter. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, I recently listened to the Poker News interview you did in 2021 after you won your gold bracelet in the PA main. And I highly recommend anyone listen to that. It kind of really captured the emotion of getting rewarded after putting in a lot of hard work. It was cool to see. But something that you mentioned in that was that you started poker with Moneymaker like a lot of other people, but you initially stopped because after a few losses, you kind of began to view poker as a game of gambling and you didn't really see edges to be had. I'm curious what changed that mindset to be that there could be winners in the game from whether it's just gambling or not.
First off, I'm impressed you did some research for this. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, no, it was just a level of maturity or immaturity at the time. I love the game my whole life, but I started playing at 14. As a kid, like in $5 home games and stuff like that. Maybe even earlier with my dad. Um, but eventually I went to college, and I was always playing every now and then recreationally, and I wasn't studying. I was just a recreational player that would show up and play cash every now and then, hop into tournament every now and then. And obviously, in that scenario, you're going to lose most of the time, which frustrated me. And then in 2018 or 2019, I found more content. I found videos online. I found podcasts, and it like was eye opening to me. I was like, I think the first podcast I found was like a Red Chip Poker podcast, and it was just talking about like opening ranges, and I was just like blown away. I had read Harrington and Hold'em, and I was a good player in terms of 1-2 no limit cash, but I wasn't necessarily beating the game or anything. And then when the more the content just drove me to just learn. And the more you learn, the more you realize how many people just aren't studying or just don't care enough to listen. There's so much good free content out, and the internet is now so robust. You can just go on YouTube. You can spend hours just getting free poker content. So that really opened my eyes. And then as soon as you start learning opening ranges, your game it's infinite to learn, and then you just get exponentially better at that point. I had already grasped like the initial like the game. I understood the game, so it was easy for me to transition to becoming a serious player because I had such a long background as a kid playing.
Yeah. And I mean, especially before 2018, the availability of content wasn't really in your face, right? Like you would have to actively like look up like poker books and you'd have to like spend so much time reading a book in order to pick up any information. So it can be understandable for you to like not really want to dive into strategy because it's hard to find.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad actually, because my dad passed away in November of 29 years ago, so 2015. So I made like a pact to myself that I had kind of had stopped playing, and I was like, every year on his birthday, I'll go play cash like for his birthday. And the one year I
That's
went,
awesome.
when I was walking to Rivers Casinos where I used to play cash. Um, and I was like, let me just find a podcast because I'm walking here. Like I listen to podcasts. It was like when podcasts were just kind of get going. I was like, there's probably a poker podcast, and that's why I started listening. And then it just took off from there. And I
That's
was
a
like, oh my
super cool
god,
tradition.
yeah. But now,
Um,
I mean, I don't really keep the tradition because now I just play like all the time. So I'm naturally playing on his birthday anyway. So
Yeah. And I think it's also pretty understandable for recreational players to have that kind of original mindset that you had of seeing poker as gambling because they never really put enough volume to reach a long run. So it's like in the short run, a recreational player is going to play what, like 50 sessions over like a couple of years. Like, of course, it's going to feel super swingy. So I don't think
yeah,
that's
exactly.
super crazy.
Yeah, you see it all the time in tournaments. Like a recreational takes a bad beat, they play 3 tournaments a year. It's devastating. A pro takes a bad beat, they just go back to the cage. Like it's nothing. Like we expect it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, So I was also snooping around SharpScope a bit, and it seems like you put in a ton of volume in 2020, right around COVID and stuff. What kind of motivated you to do that? And what was your balance between playing and studying? Because obviously, when you first kind of start to pick up the game, there's a constant balance of, wanting to get in volume to see where you're at, see how you're doing. But there's also like, oh, I want to get better at the game. I don't want to put in like 100K plus in buy-ins if I am not winning in the fields as much as I think I am. So how did you approach that?
Yeah, this is a lot to unpack there. My life was pretty much prime for poker at that point. It was 2019. Poker was just becoming legal online in Pennsylvania. COVID was happening, so I was fully remote in terms of my job. Um, my I was engaged to my wife, so we weren't married. We didn't have kids at this point, which I'll get to at this point. Now I have two, but I just had a lot of time, um, and I'm a productive type of person. I was losing some motivation with my job that I had, and I was gaining motivation every day for poker. I love the game, and the content just it was like more and more and more and more and more. I was just like obsessed with the game, as most people get at this point in my progression. I was learning, and everything I learned was making my game exponentially better because I was coming from essentially like level one. So
Yeah.
like opening ranges, three betting, like there was just so much to learn. And anytime I learned anything, my game would just, to me, I thought my game was just going through the roof. The games were soft online, and yeah, I was just playing. Bankroll management really, like, there are three ways to look at it. I think you can come from a background of like a gambler into poker, an athlete competitor into poker, or like an e-game video gamer into poker. I've kind of have a little bit of all three in my background. I was a high school pretty serious basketball player and played sports growing up. I played poker my whole life, and I was around gambling with my dad, and I played fantasy football, and he was a sports bettor, and my grandfather was involved in casino stuff and horse race. They own horses, so like I've been around gambling my whole life. I'm not afraid to gamble, um, and I played video games my whole life as a kid growing up. So I think those three things, like I have the makeup of someone who's willing to gamble and take chances, and I didn't really care too much about bankroll management. I also had a full-time job, which allowed me to, and I still do to this day, and it keeps the pressure off of poker. It allows me to be, I'm still smart with my bankroll, but it allows me to take more risks and be more aggressive with my bankroll because I do have a full-time job,
For
which
sure.
takes some of that stress off. But yeah, I mean, I really wasn't. I was just playing. Like one of my first live tournaments, I like hopped in a 500 one day at Parks and like chopped it three ways for 15K, and in like 2 months that was dust, like completely dust. I learned the hard way, but everybody has to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought I was rich. I thought it was amazing. But as you go through your poker progression, and any career, it changes, and perspective is pretty much everything. But I was just firing. I was just firing online. Anything and everything is playing as much as possible. I thought studying and playing was kind of all in one. Like playing online is one of the best tools to studying. You're just playing hands, playing hands, playing hands. I didn't really separate the two. It was just poker. It was just study during the day, play at night. Even play cash during the day if I can get hands in. I would play high in cash, higher than I should have, games I wasn't winning, but I held my own and I learned a lot. And you have to feel the losses. Like I don't know. I don't think you should be scared. I don't think anybody should be scared to lose, especially in poker. I think that hurts you. I think people call it shot taking, but it's not really shot taking. It's just natural life progression. Like if you have the means, like go for it. Like what's the worst that can happen is you lose, but you learn when you lose. So then you just come back and get better. I mean, it's just a relationship with money, and everyone's relationship with money is a lot different. And for
Yeah.
me, I'm able to take some risks. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that was something I noticed when I was snooping around SharkScope. Is I think you started off at a pretty high ABI, at least online, right? Like you were playing like hundreds from the start.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, like, if I want to play against the best, like if it's there, I want to play. It's like I enjoy, most people seek the soft games, and don't get me wrong. Obviously, I understand there's value in the soft games, but I enjoy playing against the best players. That's just maybe it's not the most profitable, but life isn't about profit all the time. And I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy playing against the best. And, I like that aspect of poker
Yeah.
more.
It's fun, and at worst, it's a learning experience. So perfect.
Exactly. Exactly.
Did you have any ambition to play full time once you started kind of really putting in volume and grinding, or was the mindset always to kind of keep a job on the side?
I did, but I am playing full time. That's the thing. I was playing full time. I had the full time job, but I was playing more than 40 hours a week easily. I was playing live tournaments. I was traveling. I was playing online. So I was essentially, and I still consider myself a pro, even though I also have a full time job. I file my taxes as a professional based on hours played. They told me that's fine. File as a pro. So I consider myself a pro. It doesn't really matter to me. Like labels don't really mean anything. Pro, recreational, whatever. People can label whoever they want as anything. But yeah, I mean, in turn, I've once I started, it was to me it was like a shift. And once I started playing seriously, I was taking it as serious as any professional. Um,
Hmm.
I emulate the professionals, and I do things. And I study, I take care of my body, I work on my game. There's nothing I don't do that wouldn't consider myself a professional. So
Yeah, that part always, I mean, not always, but it surprised me at the start learning that a lot of like the top players in Pennsylvania, they all kind of have jobs and they work full time, which is surprising because I'm like, if you're so good at poker, you could just do this for a living. But I think the like kind of what you mentioned before is having the steady income to take those shots and replenish a bankroll if you have a downswing. That stuff is pretty important as well.
yeah, and everyone's situation is different. My situation, I have a job that I've had for a while. I'm able to work remotely, or if I travel to a series, I can work in the mornings when I'm there. I have two kids and a wife and a house, so going all in on poker professionally and getting rid of my job doesn't really do anything for me at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it works. Everyone's different. If I was 22 and single, I would have quit my job 100%. But everyone's situation is different. Circumstances are different. And for me, this is kind of what works.
Hmm. So when you started out playing online, how many tables were you playing? What kind of volume were you putting in each day? What was your kind of daily grind like?
Um, I wouldn't play any more than I was mostly playing on a Mac laptop. I had, now I have two PCs downstairs and it's set up. But ironically, I was playing more tables then than I do now. I've kind of scaled back online, but I was playing 4 to 6 tables on a Mac pretty much. And
No monitor?
no monitor, just on a
You're a
Mac.
sicko.
Yeah, just on a Mac, just on, and I would even play like in the living room while my wife watched TV and like sit with her in the beginning and just play like 4 tables. Sometimes during the day, I would play sit and goes or cash, 1 or 2 tables, nothing crazy, but yeah, just normal tournament. Tuesdays, I would make sure I would play every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. For years, I did that. And then, yeah, I would hop in. Sometimes I would, if there was something good, I would play even on my phone or something. Like I would just play everything.
Was the interest always MTTs? It sounds like you dabbled in sit and goes and cash too, but was that mostly side stuff, or did you ever focus on those?
I just love the game. I just love to play. I think playing all different forms helps your game. But yeah, I enjoy MTTs the most. I enjoy the competitiveness of it. Obviously, the same stuff everyone says. Building a big stack, going deep, the asymmetric upside of an $800 buy-in, turning it into hundreds of thousands of dollars. That stuff is alluring to me. It's fun. It's a grind. There's different elements to stack sizes and all that stuff. But I think some of the best tournament players in the world start at cash too. So I wanted to get that. I think my deep stack game is strong because I played a lot of online cash, high stakes online cash, heads up online cash against really good players who probably are better than me. But I was able to learn from them, take some things away from some of the best cash players online. Yeah, I think it all kind of goes together. It's a snowball effect. You want to learn, why not take advantage of what's there, play everything, learn everything, understand ranges, in different scenarios. And that's how tournaments work, is that you're just analyzing ranges in different scenarios. The more information, the more experience, the more hands you can play, the better. So during the day, there was just no MTTs worth playing most of the time. So I would
Yeah.
play cash, and I quickly realized that cash players are just generally better. I think, for the most part, until you get to a certain level, then maybe they're the best. But cash was just high stakes. Cash was just tougher than high stakes
Mhm.
MTTs online, at least.
That's a trend that I'm starting to notice, at least in the high stakes sphere, because I'm not sure how much you follow like the GG poker online scene, but they've recently kind of killed high stakes cash. They've privatized it, so you have to be invited by somebody who like works for GG poker to play in the games that are filled with whales. So the high stakes games aren't really public anymore, and what a lot of those guys are doing is they're just hopping into tournaments. Like they're showing up to all of the 25Ks. They're starting to show up at the Tritons just because they have so much experience in playing deep stack. It's like learning the patterns of ICM short stack stuff isn't too difficult compared to learning like turn and rivers and when you're playing 100 bigs, 200 bigs deep. So I think cash is such a good starting point, and I honestly wish I studied more cash before I started to dive into more tournaments.
Yeah, 100%. And I think to take it to the next level, like low stakes and mid stakes, a lot like, yeah, I'm up early anyway, but I'm a level one guy. I'm there. I'm not afraid to play these ridiculous structures where you're 300 blinds deep on level one, because there's so much value in these low mid stakes online or live tournaments. Like you're just playing against people that don't understand how to play deep stack, and they're just, they're getting top pair in for 400 blinds, and you're just like, scooping up so much EV in
Yeah.
those first 2 hours of a tournament where most pros just show up for 100 BB and lower. They don't feel like getting out of bed until 1 p.m. And I'm there like eating breakfast, like level one, can't, I'm ready to go.
I
So,
love it. That's
yeah.
sick. Um, so flash forward to today, you obviously show out for the high stakes stuff. You know, if there's a 1K running on the day, I'll almost be guaranteed to see your name in the lobby. But compared to the 2020 days when you were kind of grinding a shit ton every week, you're playing less volume. Obviously, that makes a ton of sense because you have a family now. But do you have any goals that you want to reach now in poker? Any targets you want to hit, or like tournaments you want to play, things like that? Like, what are you working towards now?
Yeah, I'm always working to get better and play against the best players in the world. That is my goal. Like I don't want to ever cap myself. Um, I want to play Triton. Maybe it seems ridiculous, but like not to me. So, I mean, who knows if I'll ever get the opportunity to play? But I've already played a few 25Ks at WSOP. Take some shots there, and to me, I just tell myself it's a privilege that I've given myself the opportunity to be able to play in these tournaments. The result is what the result will be, but just sitting down and playing is accomplishing a lifelong dream. Like that is the goal, right? It's to be able to
Yeah.
play in those tournaments. Winning is going to be mostly card distribution, and I'm not, maybe I'm not even winning in those fields, but um, being able to play is the experience that I've given myself. And yeah, I strive to continue to play high stakes. I like live better than online, if I'm being honest. Online I like still, but yeah, like you said, I have two kids now. I'm up early driving my son to school every day. So playing every day online for me, playing volume isn't really doesn't make sense for me right now.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just want to keep playing live. Also, like winning. Once you build your bankroll, the asymmetric upside of winning, online every night goes down and down and down when you can play these live fields with so much money up top and stuff like that. So I still try to travel a bit amount locally, Florida, Vegas, East Coast, and play as much live as I can. And as my kids get older, I'll hopefully get to play more. I was joking with a couple of guys, like maybe it was Casey and McNick, some of the young guys. I was like, yeah, when you guys are having kids in 10 years, I'm going to be 40 and like flying everywhere, playing every circuit stop. Like you're going to see me everywhere. I'm going to be doing what you guys are doing. So yeah, it's just, it is what it is in
Yeah.
terms of circumstances.
Hitting all the Triton stops. I mean, based on what I'm seeing in these Triton stops, the 15K and the 25K fields, like I'm sure you're winning in these fields. Like,
Yeah, I see a lot of fun stuff, but
yeah,
yeah, it's just a matter of getting out there one time. And I just want to play more, like more Vegas stuff, more Florida stuff. just keep playing and just having fun, enjoy it. I mean, I love it. Genuinely love to play. Like I said, I'm there first hand of the day. Like I'll get there as early as I can. I love traveling for the tournaments. It stinks now being away from family, and that's like I can only do maybe a week at a time. I can't do like a 3 week or month long trip. It's just too much without my family.
Yeah.
So I'm navigating all that and just playing as much as I can. I love it. I can't wait to play again.
Is the merge, you think, going to change how much volume you put in online if the asymmetric upside starts to increase a bit more, or do you think you'd still
Yeah,
prefer to play live?
that's a good question. I mean, I definitely love playing online. It's just there's when there's big series and good stuff, I do play. Um, and now I guess the merge will make the prize pools bigger and the nights longer. So there's some push and pull there, but I'm sure in the beginning it'll be exciting, and I'll probably be back in there grinding again, at least for the good stuff and the circuit series and and there's Scoop coming up, and I'm sure I'll be in a bunch of those fields. They're all good stuff. But yeah, the merge is definitely exciting for sure. We'll see how that goes. But how could you not be excited about what's to come? What this I'm curious to see what it looks like, what they do, how they handle it, what the
Yeah.
operators do in terms of tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah. I talked about this with Schwibs in the last episode, but my big thing is I really want the volume of tournaments to increase. I'll be quite disappointed if the schedules kind of just combine and they just like double the guarantee and they don't really increase the number of tournaments offered throughout the night or throughout the day. I think that would be a big disappointment.
Yeah, I agree. And if, for me, I just want more day twos. Like I don't want to play till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I mean, some of these WSOP mains, circuit mains on Sunday, I have to skip because they go till 4 a.m. and it's just like it's a killer for me. Um, I don't know, but I'm always pushing for like the early. I'm the old man in the chat, always pushing for earlier time. I like MGM because they'll do like their mains at 5 or 6 p.m. and it's just like it's more normal. The stars and WSOP is just like 4 hours of late reg till midnight, and then you're just like it's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, even like the $50 nightly stars that always finishes at like 2 a.m. and it's like
Yeah,
I would be perfectly fine with that being a day two. Like I don't know.
it's just unnecessarily long. I don't know why they think that people want to play till 2 a.m. and the world is just getting healthier. And even kids that do stay up till 3 a.m. don't realize like how important sleep is. And at some point it's gonna affect them. So like I don't know. I don't know why they think it's good for anybody because the recreationals, I mean, maybe like they get out of work late or something, but I don't know. With late reg so long, I don't understand why they think that people want to play so late in the night, unless I'm totally off here, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I hear a decent amount of like recreational players and even like good players that don't play full time. They're like, yeah, I don't want
Yeah.
to fire this event because it'll end at like 3 a.m. and I have work the next day. It's like, yeah, why would you fire it?
Right. All right. Especially on Sundays. I don't know why they don't just, Sundays on the East Coast move the time slots up. I mean, they basically, Stars doesn't start anything on Sundays for Pennsylvania until 6 o'clock, which makes no sense because we're in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I hate that. It angers me so much.
It's just odd. It's like, why not just start everything at 2 p.m.? I mean, people are going to play on Sunday anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the marathon, and then you just get to dump infinite bullets into that because there's like 5 hours
Yeah.
of later edge.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll log on at like 6 or 6:30 and get like 10 BB for that or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another topic that I wanted to talk about, you kind of mentioned it before. Like most MTT players, I know very minimal amounts of heads up strategy, but I've heard from many of the regs that this is one of your specialties. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a specialty is a loose term. I think I am good compared to the field of PA regs and heads up, but mostly that's because they don't like put an emphasis on it. Where I have put some emphasis on it. I've played some high stakes heads up online cash, and I've studied some using like different tools, Doug Polk's heads up stuff, and I studied it. Look, I studied it a little bit. I played it a little bit. I understand it. I understand how it works. I played the 25K heads up 2 years ago in Vegas, um, which was an awesome experience. So I just have more experience than maybe some, and I feel comfortable in it. Like I don't feel lost, and I don't feel uncomfortable in those nodes. So like I kind of understand how ranges work and how wide it is. But I am by no means like a very, I wouldn't call myself like a specialist or good at, I wouldn't even say I'm that good at heads up. I don't know. I'm like fine. I have some experience in it.
Got it. So
Yeah.
how do you study heads up? Because I feel like there's not a ton of resources out there. I mean, at this point, you can do like heads up versus the trainer in GTO Wizard or something like that. Obviously, there's some bigger courses like Doug Polk's like Endgame course or whatever it is. But what was your kind of method of studying?
The best study method for me is the training videos, watching other professionals break down videos, break down hands, and use solvers. So, like Doug Polk has a heads up course. Run It Once has great heads up content where you can do this. Pads, I've used Pads a lot from Run It Once. His stuff is incredible. He has a heads up thing where he it's him and Kevin Rabichow.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, they're the best. So that's the best way for me to study is these video, like I mentioned to you off air, like GTO Lab, the way they have their videos set up now, where you can watch these coaches do their tutorials. They go through the hands, they go through the sims, they explain different nuances, they explain why things are working. That's the best way that I've experienced learning. I use pokercoaching.com, Jonathan Little's site, a lot when I first got it started, which I think is, in my opinion, the best site for beginners, like years 1, 2, 3, maybe even year 4. That site just does a great job of getting you from like point A to point B, in my opinion. I mean, I vibe with a lot of the way Jonathan Little thinks. I think I met him. I know him well. He's a great guy. And they have some good coaches on there. They've kind of rotated their coaches in and out, but some of the guys there, I mean, Justin Sleep is just an absolute beast and he's such a nice guy. So like I've been able to meet a lot of those guys and they helped me a lot early on. Matt Affleck does some videos for them, but that's for me the best way to learn is those like coaching video webinar type of thing.
Yeah, I have the pads on pads course, and I did a lot of work in the other sections, but that was months ago, and I skipped skipped the heads up section. I think I might have to walk through that because I know Kevin Rabichow is super good at heads up, and he's like probably one of the best teachers in poker. So I'm sure that is just incredible resource as well.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone just to like maybe skim it if you play tournaments, especially if you play live tournaments, because you never know when you're going to get heads up on in a big spot. Like, and the amount of money is so astronomical, in like in comparison to the middle of the day or something like that, with 3 tables left, 4 tables left, whatever. But if you get heads up with hundreds of thousands of dollars, or if it's a 100K heads up match or 50K heads up match, I mean, that is, you're never going to play for more money than that. And to just like have a little bit of knowledge, you're almost always going to be ahead of your competitor in those kind of big field spots. So, and that gives you such a big advantage, and it's such a huge spot EV wise. So it's like, why not just even like an hour of study, 30 minutes just to understand? I mean, they're going to give you so many things that are just going to put you ahead of the competition. So I don't see it. It can't hurt. You never know when that spot's coming. Most people think, it's just, by that point, like I already have won X amount of money. I'm heads up. Like, who cares? Like, let's just spin the wheel. But it's like, no, there's so much money and so many nuances to be had in that scenario. I mean, imagine if you're heads up in a, in like a WPT or something. Obviously, it's a multi-day tournament and you can prepare for it as you go. But
Yeah,
maybe like in a Borgata 2-day or a Borgata 3-day where there's 6 figures up top, you would just show up for day 2 with 100 players or so, and then all of a sudden it's like midnight and your heads up and you wouldn't even know it. So
yeah, yeah. Big field, it seems huge because the dollar value at stake is just insane. But even in like small fields online, like you're just going to get heads up much more frequently. So even then, like the dollar value builds up over time. So it seems important. I think in my head, it's like the re, or the stupid justification I give myself to putting off heads up studying is that if I study heads up theory or whatever, people differ so much in game. What benefit does that give if I understand, how heads up ranges works in theory? What would you say to that? And get me to study heads up.
um, that's kind of how every node works, every street works, right? Like no one's playing well in any street, so why study anything? So
That's
it's just
true.
really good. It's really good to know the baseline, because you could say, why are you studying button versus big blind if big blind is never 3 betting 10-9 suited 80 blinds, never 3 betting ace 10 offsuit? never check raising with a backdoor draw, never doing this, never check raising bottom pair, never check raising middle pair. Like people just play poorly in every spot. So I think you will never get worse studying. There's no possible way you can study and get worse. If you enjoy the game and you enjoy learning and you enjoy challenges, studying is good. Even like a lot of people don't look at blind versus blind because they say the same thing. They say it's so rare and so infrequent that I'm going to get in an important spot, blind versus blind, especially in a big live field. Why would I study that? I'd much rather study button versus big blind or EP versus big blind. Well, you're just giving away so much money because these blind versus blind spots can be massive. If your final 2 tables or final 3 tables and you're playing these blind versus blind spots, I mean, there's just so much EV to be gained because people are playing them so horribly. So it's like I would say the worse people play, the better you want to know those spots because then you understand baselines, then you understand deviations even more. You know, heads up, oh, this guy's limping at 80 blinds. Like, oh, this is odd. He's limping these hands, or he's never 3-betting. His 3-bet size is too small, so I can call everything in position. Like you just understand the nodes way better. And it's fun, in my opinion. And
It
it
does
makes you a
seem
better
pretty
player
fun.
for other trees. Sorry, it makes you better in button versus big blind nodes as well because you start to understand wider range spots better, and then you can now transfer that into EP versus BB when you know ranges are narrower and you know how they interact. So studying always helps.
Certainly, yeah. I think
Yeah,
I'll have to give the pads and rabbit chow section of
yeah,
the
yeah.
pads on pads course a look.
Just flick it
Um,
on, see what happens.
yeah, exactly. So, how was playing the 25K heads up? I'm curious about that experience. Were
It
you
was
up and
awesome.
against notables? What was your biggest takeaway? Things like that.
No, I got a great draw. I played like a Japanese content creator, I think, in round 1. I didn't know him. He seemed to play okay. I won. I ran well and won that round. The second round, I got a guy from Ireland who I'd never heard of. I think he was not very good at poker. He was not playing super well. And then I just ran Jackson to Kings at like 80 BB and on like a 7 high board and couldn't get away. But it was if I won, I needed to win 2 more matches to make the money. If I would have won that match, I think I would have played the winner of Wasserman and Adrian Mateos. They were playing next to me, which would have been, I think Wasserman ended up winning, who's, I believe, from Pennsylvania. I spoke with him a little bit because he didn't know who I was and he was like curious of who I was. He was like, so people were looking like, who's this kid? Like I think Landon came up to me too, and like I was talking to Landon a little bit. So they're like sharks, they see like a new
Yeah,
young guy. They're like, what's going on here? Where is he from? Like, what's he doing? Who is he? So they want to know right away. So yeah, it was a great experience. I had a ton of fun. Yeah, super fun experience.
that's
I would
sweet.
do it again. Yeah.
Do you plan on doing it again, like this summer?
Last year I played the Six Max instead. Um, I kind of like to try to play like one big tournament if I can. The year when I played the Heads Up, I went out twice and played the main. Last year I wasn't able to go back out a second. I think I got sick. I actually got like a stomach flu and didn't go out for the main. But this year with 2 kids, I might try to just do the main. Um, well, I have to say schedule wise, and I'm not having the best year either. Like you said, like my volume is way down, so like online is not. I'm not winning online right now, like this year, because I'm just not playing as much. So I just hop in for the bigger stuff.
Hmm.
So it's like it all ebbs and flows, but I try to play like one big WSOP tournament a year for sure.
Nice. Earlier, you mentioned that you also play a lot of, or you did play high stakes stuff online. Heads up. Where was that in PA? Was that like Heads Up Cash, Heads Up Sit and Goes? What was that like?
Yeah, yeah, it was Heads Up Cash. It was on Poker Stars. It was just playing like Heads Up. Like we would just play 2 tables. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
that's fun.
yeah.
Do you keep up with any of like the heads up for rolls matches that tend to be happening in poker? Like I know the big one was the Doug versus Daniel. Some of like the high stakes duel stuff. Or do you pay particular attention to that since you have some interest in high stakes or heads
I
up?
did. I did at the time just because I was consuming everything, and that's kind of what got me into Heads Up a little bit. Seeing Doug, watching some of his streams, that was a great learning tool. Um, yeah, I was into it for sure. Now it's a little less so, but I'm still like I have the Triton stream up from today, 100K, like on my computer now. Like I'm always
Yeah.
looking at something poker every day. I'm looking at something. So if it's like a huge thing, I'll check. But yeah,
Have you been following Doug's what is it, the 100K challenge on WPT Gold? Have you been following that at
I
all?
I haven't. I saw him tweet a couple times about it, but I haven't followed too much about it.
Yeah, that's kind of sparked my interest in Heads Up again. I've been watching a few of the streams. It's cool to see him play cards up against people who are not as skilled, seeing what he's doing to exploit certain players. But obviously, I don't even know like the
Yeah,
baseline stuff because I don't really study Heads Up theory.
yeah. He makes it look pretty easy for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. Um, So another thing I wanted to talk about is mystery bounties. There's a
Yes.
there's a specific hand that I'll give some context to for anyone who doesn't know. Last year in the Pennsylvania Championship of Online Poker, there was I think it was like a $500 mystery bounty, and there's a glitch where every bounty was $700 besides one that was 24K, and first was only like 10 or 15K or something like that. Um, I guess first of all, what was going through your mind when they confirmed the messed up bounties compared to like the standard mystery bounty structure?
Well, I was just I was on Discord waiting to see like the result. Everyone was obviously freaking out, so I was just waiting to see what Stars was going to do. Um, I had it. I was like chip leading for a while. I think I remember I had a lot of chips, so I think I was like kind of taken aback. Obviously, I was like, this can't be right. And then when they said like we're not changing it, this is the way it is. I was like, all right, like this is kind of crazy. But I have so many chips that I'm just gonna be able to like any two cards. Like in that scenario, I was literally trapped. I had HX suited. Like it was like I was trapping. I just smooth called. I was trapping. I would have gone on with literally any two cards.
Yeah,
The way that yeah. So
I
it
guess
was a wild scenario.
the bounty structure doesn't necessarily change anything, right? Because it's like if the average bounty size doesn't change, then it doesn't really matter. But it certainly makes it more thrilling when there's just like one huge bounty, right?
Yeah, I think when there's just one huge bounty, you have to when it's that outsized compared to first place. First place becomes I think it was like three times first place. First place was like 8K, and the biggest bounty was around 25K.
Oh
So
wow.
I think at that point it was like there was no point in playing for first place until that bounty gets pulled. Once that bounty's out there, I just have to try to win every bounty. I think.
Yeah.
At least that's what my mindset was. So I was like, kind of whatever. First place doesn't matter. Let's just go for all. And that's kind of how everyone was playing. It was a 5-way all in. We all ended up having good hands, but
Yeah.
everyone knew this. Everyone knew the situation. It was just a little ridiculous. I honestly felt bad winning because it's just like someone has to win, but it felt so stupid.
Yeah, so for the people who didn't see it in real time, he pulled the 24K bounding with Ace Jack, and he hit the one outer on the river versus was like Ace King, King Jack, and sixes or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, what was the reaction to that? I might have to do a lap around the house or something like that.
No, it wasn't. I honestly didn't really. I like it felt like I was gonna win it. I just had so many chips and I was going all in every hand. I don't know. I felt like I don't know. It was crazy. Yeah.
It was funny seeing everyone actually have a hand in that spot too, because I feel like
Yeah.
like there should have been so many more people all in with like dust if
Right.
everyone had a hand.
Exactly. I wanted to win with like 7-3 offsuit or something ridiculous, but I actually had a good hand.
Yeah, and you ended up taking it down as well. So the FT was just essentially a normal FT because every other bounty was just what, like minuscule.
Yeah, I just had so many chips at that point.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on mystery bounties as like a format in poker that's kind of becoming more popular?
Yeah. Um, I guess I'm somewhat mixed on it, but I personally don't love them. Um, it seems gimmicky and it seems gambly and it seems takes away like the spirit of the game, in my opinion. But then at the same time, there's a lot of strategy involved, and a lot of recreationals like don't really understand the strategy well. And there's like a lot of EV to be gained if you're playing them correctly. You can do a lot of cool things. Um, like Paz has done a lot of stuff on this, but there's a lot of cool things you can do in mystery bounties to give you an edge. So I've had some success in them because I think I'm able to capitalize on an edge that I have, but it's not like I see a mystery bounty on like a live schedule and get excited about it. I'd much rather play like a regular tournament.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting balance of bringing in like the gambly recreationals who kind of enjoy the exponential upside that's seemingly kind of random. Um, but I think kind of what Paz has talked about a lot at length on his Instagram stories or on Twitter is that the amount that it increases variance for the professionals or the people who play regularly, the variance is pretty absurd. Um, he talks. I remember he's mentioned that the action that he gets access to, people selling to him and whatnot, is exponentially more in mystery bounties compared to regular tournaments or bounty tournaments because you have to be willing to commit yourself with like any two cards once the bounties are in play against like two covering or two stacks that you cover. And obviously that makes the variance pretty absurd, right? But it's the profitable thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot of spots where you have to be willing to go all in with any two cards, like you said. But the irony is these recreationals that are playing to gamble aren't willing to go all in with any two cards. Although
Yeah.
they're gambly types, they just assume, oh, I have Jack two offsuit, I have to fold. But they're not really understanding the math and the EV of the scenario where they should be going all in with hands like that. So you can capture a lot of EV just by playing correctly and understanding the math behind the spots. And then like pre-flop limping starts to become a lot viable because you can do a lot of cool things when you start limping your range, which is ironically again is some things recreationals will do in normal tournaments now starts to become good
Yeah.
in mystery bounties, but they won't do it in mystery bounties because they want to knock the player out. And they think by limping they're decreasing their chances. So it's like these weird loopholes that happen where you start playing like a recreational and the recreational starts getting scared to play like they should be playing like they normally are playing. So it's kind of like these weird it's a weird feedback loop. They're okay. They're fun sometimes. I've had some success and they're fun if you understand what you're doing.
Yeah. I think I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of them given how gambly they are, but one perk that I do really enjoy is that I can fire multiple bullets profitably for volume purposes compared to PKOs, right? Because for a PKO, once the bounty kind of gets knocked out, you're missing a part of the prize pool, and it becomes less profitable for you to re-reg closer to the end of late reg. But for mystery bounties, the bounties aren't in play until you make the money, so it's easier to kind of get more volume in.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was a little worried at first when Stars had the mystery bounty series, and once they started to implement that, I thought we were going to get like mystery bounties every Sunday, and it was going to be like WSOP where there's just infinite mystery bounties. But it seems like
Yeah.
they've kind of held off on that, which is good.
Yeah, and online I think they're even less enjoyable. Like I think there's something about a live mystery bounty that's certainly exciting and fun, but online it's just like I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Seems a little silly.
yeah, like the exponential upside is nowhere near live, right? Like if you
Right.
play like a 1K mystery bounty, I can't remember what the exact events are, but it's like a 200K bounty or a 100K bounty or whatnot that you can pull. But you play online, you play like a $100, it's like a 5K bounty. It's like it's
Right.
cool, obviously, but
Yeah.
not as fun.
And then then you're like me, you get seventh for, and then you don't pull any bounties and you win, you break even on the night and you're up till 2 a.m. and just absolutely miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then like 41st place makes more than the top seven
Yeah. Right.
combined.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Sweet. Do you have any like pre-session or post-session routines you do when you're playing online, or even I guess live too? Things you do before you play live, after you play live?
Not like specific in terms of like, I have to do these things, but just general lifestyle stuff. I'm very much into health and nutrition, so I'm very much always doing something every day, active, working out in some capacity, moving my body. So at a live stop, I mean, I'm naturally up early too because I'm up every day, 7 o'clock. I drive my son to school, so like even if I'm playing, I travel to the tournament and I play in a tournament. Let's say I bag at midnight or 1 a.m. I'm up at 7, so that's kind of like a hindrance on my game. So I have to make sure like I have to be productive with my time in the morning. So I'm always walking, getting sunlight, eating healthy. Like if I'm home and I'm playing in a tournament, I'm packing my lunch. Like people always messing me out. They're always saying I bring like containers of food. I'm
You got the
packing food.
lunchbox.
I got the lunchbox. I got my water in a glass bottle. Like I got my food, like everything ready to go. So like I make sure I all that squared away. Like food, and I'm getting like steps in. I'm getting everything I need in the morning. Getting my like family squared away. Like my son's in school. Like everyone's good. Like I don't want it like that to hinder my day, which sometimes it does. There's nothing you can do about that. But yeah, that's kind of I like to set myself up. So once I start playing, I put my phone in my bag. Like I am very much present. At least I try to. Not listening to music, not doing anything, just being present at the table. um, One, because it increases EV, but two, because I just enjoy being like, it's the one opportunity where I can be extremely present in the moment. Where like in today's day and age, you're just always on your phone or computer or device or something, and I just feel like this is a nice escape. Like poker provides that for me, so I make sure I do that. Yeah, and that's just normal stuff that I like to do, lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a really good approach to have, especially when playing live, kind of setting your phone down or whatnot. I don't play much live, but anytime I have, I will usually, like, I'll bring headphones, but I'll use the headphones on break. Like, if I'm at the table, I'll take them off and I just want to kind of listen to or pay most attention I can to the table. Because, like, live seems like a completely different game where so much online is kind of just getting in volume and putting in more reps. But live, it's a lot more noticing every single detail of the table, trying to max exploit every single person you're playing against. So it really feels different, and I kind of like that, which makes me want to play more live. But also, I like online. So
No, 100%. You're spot on, especially in 3,500 buy-in and below. Like you're just in these main event fields or these $500 fields in Philly or something like that. You're just max exploiting. So you're almost using more brain power in some sick way. I'm almost using more brain power in those fields than at playing a 25K 8 max at WSOP, when I'm kind of just autopiloting, and I know like I have to be balanced. I know this guy has bluffs, so I know I have to call sometimes and call errors. Maybe I'm even randomizing in some spots where, like in a Philly Live 500, I'm obviously never randomizing anything.
yeah,
So it's just it like you have to be way more alert, and I think that's one of my advantages too, is that I'm able to be present. Like I'm pretty patient. I'm pretty attentive. So like maybe in some spots where if I'm not the most studied player at the table, I can gain an edge by being patient, being alert, understanding ranges, understanding this guy, what he's doing, his sizing, his bet sizing, and like just paying attention to all hands, um, and just enjoying being there. Like I get a little bit tilted when people like show up to a live tournament and they start complaining, or they start like they don't want to be there and they act like they have to be there. And they're upset, and like obviously I don't say anything, but like in my head I'm just like, no one has to be here. Like I like
yeah,
it's a poker tournament. It's like a poker tournament. Like either you want to play or you don't. Like you don't. No one's forcing you to be here. This is like there. A lot of people complained about the structures or something, which I've done too. But ultimately, it's like we're sitting down to play a tournament, and you can win a lot of money. Like that's either you enjoy it or you don't. So for me, I just try to enjoy it for what it is, and just and sometimes like I feel super good. Like there was a time in like I played a tournament in either Florida, or maybe it was Florida, and I was up early. I was like took a walk on the beach. I like packed my sandwiches, packed my food, and I'm just like out in five hands, just like cooler, like and just like busted four bullets, like a miserable day. It's like nothing you could. It is what it is. The cards are the cards, but you can only control. Pads is also very good at explaining how the game away from the game is what you can control. You can only control so much, so why not do the best you can with what you can control?
yeah. I love Pads' mindset and approach to the game. I think the stuff that he
Same.
posts on his Instagram stories are like so underrated. Like you could probably sell like a compilation of his Instagram stories over the past year or two and like put it as a course, and people would happily buy it for like $1,000. It's so much valuable stuff in there.
So many gems, and yeah, I think so many people understand the way he thinks, like think like him, very like-minded, and he puts it so well. He puts it he's very articulate, and he explains it very well. I also concur, his content's the best.
I'm not sure if actually one that came to mind is he posted a bunch of stories a few weeks ago that was about the Mechanics of Poker podcast, if you know that one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically just a shit ton of conversations with kind of high stakes regs and cash and MTTs. And he posted like a 10 slide story of the 10 characteristics that kind of seem uniform across everybody in those interviews. And I just immediately screen recorded, tapped through all of them, and saved it in my phone because I think it's just insanely valuable information to have. And the way that he phrases it is pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree. And I've listened to a lot of them. Like when I was in those 2020, 2021 years, 2022 years, I was listening to all that stuff, like all those interviews. I think they're very inspirational. They give you some motivation and background understanding of like the way that these guys think. And, you know, I think he posted some of them that were, yeah, a really good slideshow. I agree.
Yeah. I'm deep diving some of the old Joey Ingram ones too, with all of like the online crushers as well, and they're all just insane. Like here, like seeing like Victor Malinowski when he's like 18 years old, just like talking
Yeah,
about heads
yeah,
up
yeah.
cash, or like Fedor Holes when he's like 16. Like it's absurd. I love
Yeah,
it.
I agree.
When you're playing online, do you have anything you do in your 5 minute breaks besides just kind of like step away from the computer? Do you have anything you like to do then?
Not really. Sometimes I'll do push-ups or something, but um, I play. So if I play like let's say I play my son, I'll go to bed and then I'll start, or let's say around 7:30 or 8 at this point, like I won't eat. I'll just like completely fast from 8 till like I go to bed like at 2 or whatever. So like I don't eat anything at that point. I'm just going like in the 5 minute breaks, I'm just going to the bathroom, or maybe I'll do like some push-ups, or I have like a mini, my son, we have like a mini basketball hoop. I'll like shoot on that, like just to like get my eyes off the screen.
Yeah,
But yeah, nothing like, no like rituals or routines or anything.
yeah. To bring up pads once more, I remember he said he has this whole routine of like going, like at least during scoop, he would film himself talking to himself in the mirror, um, and like shit like that.
Yeah.
He'll like talk to himself for 1 minute and like do something else for another minute, like do push-ups or
Yeah.
box jumps.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he's insanely intense, and obviously he's playing way more tables than me, way higher stakes than me. So, but yeah, he's dialed in for sure.
I can't imagine how much money he has on the tables at all times because he's playing like a $500 ABI at like 20 tables. It's like just insane.
I know, it's nuts. It's nuts. And he's very good with bankroll management. He'll be on a heater and still skip a 10K, or he'll skip it because he doesn't see the value in it, which is not like the way I'm wired. I would play it if I'm watching his story, be like, play it, dude, play it. Like you're good, like play it.
Get in there.
He won't. Yeah, get in there. He doesn't punt at all. He's very, very, very good at what he does. He's probably one of the mindset wise. I think he's the best. I mean, I don't know. Maybe other people are not articulating it because they're just not doing content, like Chidwick or all these Mateos or whoever's out there not doing content. But in terms of people that are sharing, I don't think there's anybody better.
Yeah. And he doesn't really play live that much, so it's been cool to see him play. I'm not sure if you've watched any of the Poker Go stuff
Yeah.
recently, but he's been making a ton of
Yep.
deep runs in those. It's been sick
Yep.
playing, like watching him play heads
Yeah.
up or
Yeah.
cards
He's
up.
got his I subscribe to his group on what is it, a Telegram thing,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
like he provides updates for everybody, which is incredibly valuable, obviously.
yeah. Cool stuff over there.
Yep.
All right. I think that is about wrapping it up. Thank you, Porter, for hopping on the podcast.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. This is cool. I'm glad you're doing this. This is good stuff.
Appreciate it.